What's up, everybody? We have some very special guests today. We have Gibby, we got Mark, Sean, and Wendy. I know you guys probably already recognize all of these people from Twitter and YouTube and Discord and Telegram. Thank you guys, first off, so much for being with me today. We're going to be going over a fun topic. You can use the word blue chip or grail, but basically, when we refer to grail, we're talking about like a highly valued item on Veve or highly valued collectible. So something like the secret rare Spider-Man or Walt or Todd Batman, or versus having a diverse portfolio versus having a quantity of collectibles and maybe over 200 collectibles, however many it is. Kind of talking about the two, which one we lean towards. Lately, I've heard a lot of people talking about how they're kind of condensing their portfolios into just grails. And then I've heard the opposite. I've heard people selling off their highly valued items to be able to diversify more. So we're really going to be discussing that today. So thank you guys again for joining me. Did you want to introduce yourselves as well? Or I know you all have your own channels and own socials.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Gibby. I'm on Twitter, known as Gibby on Veve, and just happy to be a part of this.
Hey guys, I'm Mark. I do VV Komi videos, and I'm MarkWin7 on Twitter.
Who you or me?
Everybody knows you guys, so I'm just gonna skip over.
Okay. I'm just
wait,
kidding. Wait, who's Sean? Who's Sean? I don't know who Sean is.
Hello. Wendy first.
Hi everyone, this is Wendy Stibalis. I'm Gwen Lopez N in every platform. Thank you, Chris, for letting me be in here. It's my first time not hosting, so thank you so much.
I'm Sean. I'm co-host of Comics and Crypto Podcast. A big shout out to Kevin Spencer, and you can follow us at Comics and Crypto.
Heck yeah, some great videos, great information, great charts. Thank you guys again for being here. So I have some questions laid out, and I guess in the same order we just went, you can kind of give me your answer to the question. The first one is super simple. Do you own more grails, or do you own more like a diverse portfolio, and why is that?
So for me personally, when I started, I was trying to be as diverse as possible because I felt like at the time when I first started, I didn't really know what was too valuable or what was considered a grail, or I think Chris's favorite word, blue chip, the word of the week, blue chip. So I didn't really know what was considered a holy grail at the time. So I was diversified. But then kind of as my VV journey kind of went along, I try to sell off most of the stuff that I felt like I could use to buy one of these holy grails, like a Mickey or stuff like this. And I found that once comics came out, it became very easy to diversify because grails are a little bit expensive nowadays, and they're tough to come across. But when comics came, comics are affordable. And when it comes to comics, you can actually diversify your portfolio fairly well by not spending too much, buying a couple comics. So you can kind of do both. But for me, it's more of I collect what I like. I collect what I enjoy, the brands that I like, and the stuff that I kind of know in the real world. But it also depends on what people consider grails and stuff like that. For me, it's just I like what I collect. I collect more comics nowadays, specifically because of Sean. Sean has given me a lot of information about comics. But yeah, that's just my take on things.
Sweet. So for me, I guess I have a mix of both. So I have some blue chips, and I also have a pretty diverse sets of collectibles. I think initially I've always wanted to collect sets, but as like Gibby said, the word of the week for Twitter is blue chip, and so every single person I know is tweeting about blue chips, and so I think at the end of the day, I think it's good to hold on to at least one of each blue chip and kind of jumping right onto blue chips as right after drops. I know sometimes that doesn't work, but if you know something's going to be a blue chip like Steamboat Mickey or Walt and Disney, looking at the price point right after that, sitting at like 1,500, 2,000, that's kind of a no-brainer, knowing that it's going to jump up. And for me, like I think on the flip side of it, having a lot of sets in the long run, there's going to be more utility built into the VVverse as like for access to certain portions of the VVverse, or being able to rent certain ones out that people don't have, because at the end of the day, I think completing sets is going to be more difficult as more people roll onto the app. So a little diversified in both.
Well, in my case, I'm very conservative in how I invest. So for me, it's important to invest first in the blue chips because it's easier for the long term and also in the short term. So I do believe that depending on your goal, you have to decide what you want to do. If you go for the blue chips, it's going to be easier to flip like in the short term. But I also like to have diversify my portfolio. So I do have some comics that can have like big return in the future, or doing my research for some that I'm not so sure about if they are going to become important. But I do have some of them, but I prefer to have more amount of, for example, commons Marble #1 because are more affordable than having like 10 of something that I don't know. So that's me.
When I invest in something, I always think about what's going to stand the test of time. Like specifically the comic books. I mean, we're getting multiple comic books a week, and over the next couple of years, we're gonna have 500 to 1,000 comic books on Veve. So, which comic books are going to stand tall when 500 to 1,000 comics show up? And I just keep leaning towards the Grail comics. Specifically, our definition of Grail are comics that are valued at $500,000 or more in its highest grade. So specifically like Fantastic Four 5, Fantastic Four #1, Marvel Comics 1, Amazing Spider-Man #1. These are the comics so far that really stand out to me. And I think it's really important that when you invest in something, make sure do your research, understand what you're investing into. I mean, I understand like the one that's coming up on Thursday. It's exciting. I mean, this very well may be the most scarce comic book we've gotten, but what's most important is invest in the comic first and then scarcity. Focus on what the comic is about, how much it's worth in the physical world, because we can definitely reference that, and then understand. Just have a good idea of what you're buying into. And same with collectibles. It's the same thing, right? For me, like the golden moments are so important. They're really going to stand the test of time. So it's important to kind of understand like what kind of brands you so I'm rambling now. I hope that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. I actually
Yeah.
haven't seen your scale of Grail, but I like to have that kind of black and white, that mutual understanding of, hi, I mean, this, like, what did you say, $500,000 comic in real life, is considered a Grail. Was that the right number?
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
the term of Grail is very subjective. That's just the one that we
Mhm.
use. That's the one I have some mentors that I've worked with that have been investing in comic books for decades, and we've all kind of like talked about this. I've had deep conversations with them about what the definition of a Grail is between all of them. This is kind of the video that we made called Keys, Grails, and Spec Books, why it's important and why you should know what these are. It's on our YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out.
Yeah,
But understanding these definitions, super important when you're investing in comics.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's really good. Definitely go check out Comics Crypto Podcast for that information, which I missed. Somebody said earlier, if you want a balance of both blue chip and regular, why leave yourself out? Where you can serve both. This is under the assumption that we almost can't have both. Like, of course, you can have a little bit of blue chips and you can have a little bit of like diversity, but not everybody can afford both. I mean, like, if you want that Walt Disney or you want that Walt and Mickey, and you're just an average working class person, it's kind of hard to afford that $10,000 to $13,000 purchase and have a diverse portfolio at the same time. So I guess when we're having this conversation, we're not under the assumption that everyone listening in is a whale or loaded and able to do everything. Now, of course, we can have a little bit of both, especially if we're blessed enough to be able to like get it on drop. But yeah, that's kind of in response to that. My answer to my own question is, do I own more Grails or higher quantity? Mine's probably a little bit more on the quantity side, but also kind of because of what I just said. It really it'd be really hard for me because I am a collector at heart to sell off my portfolio to try to buy a Walt and Mickey or to try to buy a Secret Rare Ultimate Animated Spider-Man personally. That's not because necessarily value what I think is going to be like standing a year or two from now, but more so like, again, I'm a collector and I know that, and I'm going to get into this later, but I am interested in the Master Collector program. You know, I'm a gamer as well. I think it's gonna be fun to like be competitive, have points build up, and all that. So it's really hard for me personally to sell off my quantity of collectibles. Also, never really knowing what could moon like what's going to be the first collectible on Immutable X, which ones could take off on Immutable X. We have like Tristan Eaton stuff. He just sold a piece for a lot of money, and he's an individual or smaller artist. So like I do like to have kind of more of a diverse portfolio, but at the same time I do own a couple Grails as well. Thank you, Jess, so much for the super sticker. For some reason it's not popping up. Question number 2. Assuming they were the same value and you had to choose owning one of every collectible on the app or owning multiple of the top collectible and top comic, which would you choose and why?
For me, that actually is exactly how I kind of play Veve. I like to collect. If I had the choice of collecting, sorry, can you ask one more time so I can remember?
Yeah. So if you had to choose owning one of every collectible on the app and whatever that value is, one of you in here might know that exact value. I don't off the top of my head. Or owning multiple of the top Grail of the comic and collectibles, which one of those would you choose? So would you rather have 2 collectibles but are like considered the biggest Grails on the app, or would you rather own everything on the app, assuming that value is close right now?
So for me personally, I like to own 2. This is actually a strategy that I utilize myself, because I think at the end of the day, everyone collects. Like I personally collect what I like, but at the end of the day, I think everyone did come into Veve for the idea to potentially make profit one day, and I do think that having the ability to have 2 gives you the chance to maybe one day sell off one, but then always have the ability to hold one for your own personal collection for the long term. So it gives you that flexibility to not, because I think if you own one, you kind of build a relationship to the collectibles that you own in some sense at the end of the day, right? Like you love them and you really appreciate what you hold in your vault. So if you own only one, it's very tough to let it go. And I know when the price becomes like something that you're like a desired price that you want to sell it for, it's tough to sell. Like I'll give you one example. Like imagine you own like a Todd. Todd right now is very tough to get to begin with, but if you own one Todd and the price jumps up to like $5,000 or so, like you're going to be making that decision whether you want to sell it and whether you don't want to sell it. But then when you sell it, it's kind of like you got shot. It's kind of like it hurts because you sold something that you held so valuable. So me personally, I like to collect 2 of each to give me that flexibility that, okay, when I do sell that second Todd, for example, I'll still have the luxury of at least owning one of them. And it just allows you to move forward with your Veve journey a lot better. And it gives you the freedom to not necessarily feel like, oh man, I shouldn't have let that go. Or like coming back to this discussion a month or 2 in advance and saying, ah, man, I shouldn't have sold it. So I like the idea of having 2, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Now, I do want to clarify, although I do appreciate that, Gibby, is that you would only, the options would be you would only own one of every collectible, or you would own multiple of just those 2 top collectibles. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Okay,
if that's the case, then same thing though. I would only own multiple of those 2 collectibles.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. All right, Mark, what you got, man?
Yeah, so for me, it's interesting he brought up emotional connection to your NFTs. It's totally true. I have a hard time selling my Grails. I was talking to Foster about this, and he was saying that you have to have a emotional detachment from your collectible in order to sell it. But I joked with him and I said I named all my Steamboat Mickeys that I got, and there's no way I'm selling my children. But when it comes down to it, I think like my collector side would say one of everything, but then my investor side to make money, I think would go with the Grails, because I think long term the Grails are going to stand like the test of time, like Sean says. And it's interesting because I kind of compare, like listening to this again, just thinking about it in the sense of almost like Bitcoin and Ethereum being the Grails, and then the altcoins all being speculative, being altcoins having the higher chance to multiply. But yeah, I think from an investment standpoint, definitely going with the Grails. That would be my choice.
Yes, Mark said something that is very important, because you have to know what you are more, like a collector or like an investor, and depending on that, you're going to decide. In my opinion, I want to be one day like an investor, so I always choose based on that. because I'm not a big collector unless that I'm really in love. Like right now, I'm in love with the Mickey, but it started because of investment. But right now, it's more like I just love it. I love seeing Mickey twerking with all the songs, and in that sense, it's amazing, you know. But I know that if I prefer to have like a strategy that I can follow as an investor and not like a collector, so I don't really care if I don't have all the sets. I don't really care if I don't have all of the collectibles, because I prefer to focus on my strategy and trying to get my goal.
If you guys follow Wendy, you can go and she's got a playlist for Mickey twerking on.
That was hilarious.
No way.
I have
Oh, it's
60
so good.
songs.
Oh, it's so good,
far,
Wendy.
that
Yeah.
is-
That's so good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so hard to separate your head and your heart when you're investing in this sometimes, because collecting really comes down to nostalgia, right? For me, it's definitely probably having multiple of the same of the top blue chips, because David, you had a really good piece of advice. I remember him saying that he likes to collect 3 of everything, one to buy or one to sell, one to trade, and then one to keep. So you have that option to liquidate. You know, so if you have a few blue chips, you have the option to, if once it hits a certain level that you want to sell it, you're able to sell it, and you can buy the collectibles. Someone asked me the other day, would you rather have one like Marvel Comics a secret rare, or like 15 or 20, I think it was like 20 Fantastic Four 5 secret rares. And I just know where the Fantastic Four 5 secret rare could go, and the massive upside. So yeah, exactly. The massive upside of where it will go, in my opinion. Not financial advice, Chris, but I'd rather have that option, because you can liquidate, right? And you can diversify even more over time. But you're getting in low at something that you know has a massive potential. So yes, so for me, it's definitely multiple of the same.
You know, it's so funny because like I agree with you, and I know so many people in chat agree with you, but at the same time, it's like we actually have that option to sell off our entire collection and probably buy one of those better things, and we don't do it. You know,
Yeah,
there's
right.
so much psychology in it, and there's so much like emotional attachment of. I remember when I hit that on drop back in April, you know, or wow, you know, I'm still holding on to my 2D Ultraman that I got that was given to me for free by Veve, because Veve gave it to me for free. That was one of the coolest things any company has ever done for me. I had an error on the drop, and they sent me a good low mint 2D Ultraman collectible back in April. I could have sold that thing for like 1,500 like not long after it dropped, and I'm still holding on to it because when I look at that, I think of a company that cared about me. You know,
That's a
it's
collection, yeah.
yeah, it's so
That's
hard for me
awesome.
to let go. But at the same time, I agree with you. It's like, man, yeah, why would you not just want to go with the top Grails? And then it's like, oh, there's just so much attachment. You know, I bought my Todd on the primary market, and I held it this one single Todd. You know, hindsight, I should have bought 20, but I held it this entire time. And I know some of you guys know, but I actually traded it last week because somebody had the physical limited edition. And he traded me a lower mint Todd and a few other collectibles for my Todd. That was hard for me to do because it was like, I bought this specific Todd off the market, and like you've been with me this whole time. And much less if I ever had to like sell my Todd. Like I don't even want to think about that. But
That's same here, Chris. That was the first collectible I ever got was a Todd, and I got it like I think it was April or March, and I got it for like I think $250. Man, good
Yeah.
times,
right?
I think
Like,
it's important
Jen,
also to follow. That's why you need to have like a strategy and a goal, and try to avoid following the emotions, because we are humans, and humans follow more emotion than the logic. So it's very important to have like a strategy and just connect with that and make decisions based on that. But Vivi is so smart that every collectible that they choose, it has like a story, and that's why we can connect with the collectible, and it's so hard to sell. Because if I go to buy, I don't know, into OpenSea, I have Crypto Cannabis Club, I don't care to sell that one because it's not connected with me, unless that I'm a stoner, and that's fine. But I'm not like that, you know. But Vivi has like every piece that is in Vivi, it has a story. Either way, that is a historical value, or it's just because it's connected to some memory from your childhood. So that's why it's so hard. But that's why you have to just connect with your goal and just stick with that. Well,
yeah, absolutely. I bought some Elsas on the auctions after after the Disney drops. I was getting them for like 250 to 300 a pop, and I sold them. But because, yeah, I think Elsa is a long-term like valuable collectible. I had no attachment because I didn't hit it on drop, and my plan from the beginning was to flip them, which I did, and I sold them pretty much at the floor price high as well. So like, it was good flips for me. But hindsight, like I hit the Simpsons on the drop, and I never sold my Simpsons because, again, that psychology for me of I hit this on the drop. I just had more attachment to it from hitting it on the drop than I did in secondary market. So definitely like knowing your game plan going in, like, am I buying this to hold this for a long time? Am I buying this to flip it? And not letting all the noise like on social media and Twitter and even YouTube like distract you from your personal goals. If you're a collector and you're buying to collect, don't let people tell you to sell. Or if you want to sell because you need the gems or other reasons, don't let people tell you to hold. Like, make your own game plans.
Yeah, I think a lot of people nowadays, they kind of focus on trying to please everyone else and trying to collect in terms of what everyone else considers valuable. And I know I saw one of the comments where someone was saying you can't have an emotional attachment, but that's so hard to do because it's collecting at the end of the day. Whether it's digital, whether it's physical, it doesn't necessarily matter because at the end of the day, we're all collectors somehow. Like I never was a collector when I joined Veve, but you adapt and you kind of change your perspective and stuff. And I think that it's very possible to be both a collector and an investor while still collecting something that you appreciate and something for your own value and stuff. But it just depends on every single person. And I think it's very important nowadays with Veve growing up to be so big. I think it's very important not to chase what other people tell you to collect and to kind of just collect what you feel. Like for me, with the Simpsons one, I resonate very heavily with Simpsons and Iron Man because those are like I grew up with the Simpsons. When I was young, like that's all I watched. I love the Simpsons. So I knew that the moment that it was going to be dropped as an NFT on Veve, I knew that I was going to collect it for my own personal collection because I love the Symptoms. And if you guys see my PFP, if they drop South Park, I'm buying every single one of them. Like it's not even a question of when Cartman is dropped or any of the South Park characters are dropped, I'm done. Like I have no gems left for sure. So, but it's important to collect what you love. It's important not to kind of follow what other people are telling you to collect and what other people perceive as valuable. Collect what you love, do, what you think is right, and follow your own journey, make your own path, and create your own rules. That's just the way I live. So
Love that. That's awesome, man.
Such good advice. Such good advice. And then it's like at the same time, it's not advice because it's like, hey, just do you, So
yeah, it's
I
the
love
best
that.
advice to get. Though.
Yeah, best advice to give. Question 3. Now this one's a little funny. You can just say pass if you don't want to answer it. So I did mention the Master Collector program earlier in the video. For those of you that are watching live or watching this later, we're getting the Master Collector program next year. Who knows exactly when? And basically, it's going to incentivize you to hold collectibles and comics. There's a point system. There's other systems involved where you can get like lotteries and be able to like bet on drops or be able to like guarantee you to be able to buy a drop. There is accessories that you can buy with your points that you can put on your collectibles. There's renting NFTs that was actually, recently put on the last update. So with all that being said, with like a basic understanding of the Master Collector program, do you think these incentives are strong enough to boost diversity a little bit closer to Grails? Not as far as like exact price goes, but do you think this is going to incentivize people to keep higher prices on a larger scale?
Me personally, I think it's too early to say. I think the Master Collector program is a very good aspect of how they want Veve to look like in the future. But it's always changing, and they're always adapting to different things and how they portray it. But I think it's important to note that when it comes to collecting, it's more about what you see as kind of valuable in your own eyes and stuff like that. And with the Master Collector program, I think there could be a lot more incentives added to kind of portray people to collect a little bit more for what they love instead of kind of collecting strictly for Master Collector program. So I think it's a work in progress. I think it's going to improve. I think it's going to get a lot better. But that's just my take.
Yeah, I think the Master Collector program is awesome because it definitely incentivizes people to keep their collectibles on the Veve app inside the ecosystem. Because what's the point of holding your collectible in like a MetaMask wallet or like your Coinbase wallet if you're not getting points for it every single day? So I think it incentivizes holding. I like it personally because it gamifies like the whole collecting thing. Like in real life, there really isn't you just follow a guide. Let's say Pokemon cards. There's like one specific set you're trying to complete. Once you complete it, that's it. It sits in a binder. This kind of has like an ongoing gamification to it, and I think it's good. And for me, I think that's one of my main things for not fully going into the Grails and kind of diversifying a bit is because of the Master Collector program.
I do want to chime in real quick. I don't know if you saw Randy's video, and I kind of chat with him about it, but it'd be really cool because they're incorporating badges as well. Speculation, of course, but like, being able to collect, and you could do this with other things too, but if you're able to collect Pokemon and then get badges, for said Pokemon that you collect in the app, or either Pokemon or Pokemon cards, but, let's not just say Pokemon, let's say like anything, like, get that DC badge for, having this amount of DC characters, or I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool aspect for, again, people who enjoy like the gamification part of it.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something I look forward to, like being able to showcase your badge inside your vault, being like, oh, like how did you get that? Because I think like looking at the thing that has for the each badge you have in your vault, that kind of shows, like, let's say for example, you're looking at the Frank Kozik set, or you're looking at the Jermaine Rogers set. That one only has 888 people that can ever finish that set. Like, I know it comes down to like looking at the actual collectible, but then the scarcity piece is also there. And it's kind of cool to be like, I own this badge because I am one of 888 people that own this set. So,
Mark, I think you got some fans in the chat.
just my buddy Eric.
He's actually really cold though. He told us before we got on the stream. That's why he's wearing a beanie and stuff.
Yeah, dude,
how cold is it where you're at, Mark?
It's -8 degrees Celsius, and then for all you Americans, it's 17 degrees Fahrenheit.
Man, can you like send some of that down here? It's like 73 where I'm at. I'm in short sleeves and shorts, and I'm sweating.
Dude, I will gladly trade you any day. Like
It's sorry. Sorry, I think I was lost a little bit. ADHD hitting me bad. What was the question again? What was the question?
Oh, it's okay, Wendy. I was asking that if you think the Master Collector program has enough incentives to keep value over the wide span of collectibles.
Yeah, actually, I was having notes here. What I do like is that they are trying to be fair with everyone, not just with rich people, in the sense of not everyone is going to be able to afford a blue chip if they didn't get in the drop. And I think we don't see like a reward for the blue chips. It's more about the collectibles in general. Yes, they reward some secret rares or low mints, but it's not specific because it's a Mickey Mouse, it's a Steamboat, or a Fantastic Four #1 or Marvel #1. It's just for holding a collectible. And I do like that because it makes the game fair for everyone. And that's what I like about the MCP.
Yeah, Wendy, I'm really happy you brought that up because I know Dan specifically has talked about how they're not trying to allow Mr. Moneybags come in and basically seize the day for the Master Collector program. They want to create opportunity for everybody. I know there's opportunities even just to participate. You get a lot of points just by participating, not even just owning collectibles. Also, a big shout out to Edward. That was awesome. So yeah, I think that yeah. Oh, but I will say that renting collectibles will be really big, really, really, really big. I know I've talked to somebody who actually bought a lot of hoverboards right at the drop for $11 each, about a few hundred. And he planned on opening up a hoverboard rental shop in the metaverse. I mean, like, what kind of foresight was that, man? That's impressive. I mean, just alone, I mean, his collection is now like 10 to 15x since he bought them on the drop. And I remember when that drop happened, there was like, I bought like a few, like maybe 5, and I was like, that's enough. I don't need any more. But I will say that this is where the big collectibles, especially like the super low mints, will have a big opportunity for renting, because I think renting will be really, really big. Especially people who have like in my opinion, one of one mint numbers. So like mint numbers that match up with the year a comic book was released. I have a good friend of the podcast, Callie and Nate. They own a 1901 Walt statue. I think, especially in this metaverse, you're going to have probably a lot of big corporations come in and want to run events, and they're going to want to show off these collectibles. So if you have something really special like that and a special mint number, hold on to it, because there could be a lot of opportunity for income in the metaverse. So what I want to give like a
critic is that, for example, dates like 1985 of the DeLorean, those are not rewarded. So, and
Yeah.
those they need to have a mind of those because those are very special.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not just 222 or 6969 or something like that. No, but like special dates, that will be great.
I have
Yeah,
random fact. I have 9885 of the UR DeLorean that I hit on drop. I know it's not like the 1985, but
Yeah.
I've
But it's like
always
an almost.
yeah, it's an
Close to it.
almost. It's an almost. It's a knockoff.
It's funny,
Yeah.
I was talking to Sean this morning. I was trying to like justify my 1967 Fantastic Four Hulk versus the Thing, and I was like, "This is when that TV show came out." So trying to reach.
Oh my
for it.
god, guys,
I do that all the time.
Go ahead, sorry, Gibby.
No. I was doing the same thing as Mark. Like I get like a collectible that's like 1960 or something. I'm like, there's got to be a connection. Let me Google this. There's got to be a collection.
Wendy, to add on to that really quick, what you just said, the 1985 DeLorean, a good friend Goldie actually owns that, and yeah, big shout out to the Goldland. And well, actually, I met Goldland at the Designer Con, and he actually owns the 1985 Ultra DeLorean, which he got on the drop. And he is so cool. I nerded out so hard over it. And like, can I take a photo with it? He's like, yeah. And I was expecting like just to hold it like this, and with the phone. He's like, no, man, let's do AR photos. So we all did a group photo together, and I truly nerded out over it. It was awesome. So like, if I'm feeling that way now, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in this Veveverse. So.
And
Yeah.
actually, he rejected like big offers for that DeLorean. Like I think
lot.
someone offered him like 9 Donnies or something like that, and he rejected them,
It
like
was-
all of them.
Wild
has-
offers that he's
Mhm.
yeah, he understands the
Exactly.
value for sure. It's
Uh-huh.
crazy, Wendy. Yeah, good for him.
I-
Good for Foldy.
I hope that extended AR feature showcases the mint number, like
Mm.
hovering above the DeLorean or below it. Because
Yeah.
if your friend with the 1901 Walton Mick, if I have like I don't go to Disneyland every single day, so it's a once every couple year thing, right? And I would definitely pay to rent that. I'd pay more for that if I could showcase that mint number next
Oh,
to
yeah.
the statue. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. I think they've talked about that, haven't they? They
Yeah,
that they're
it's in the OUP article, which is interesting that it's not in the MCP article. I don't know. To me, that's more of a collectible side of things than an OMI side of things. But yeah.
But that's the mint number only in the showrooms, right?
Mhm, in
Yeah,
the
doesn't
showroom.
say anything about-
They're saying in the showrooms they'll do the mint numbers.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's part of MCP actually, where you have to put some points up in order to
Okay.
show it,
Yeah.
or it's a badge level, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
makes sense. Yeah.
I think another interesting fact about like MCP and renting, Sean, you actually made the post today about, I could probably pull it up. Just a possible utility was something like the Mickey. Do you want to say that real quick before I make my point? Exactly what
Yeah.
you said about it.
Yeah, definitely. So the partner statue, this is purely speculation and something that I've just come up with myself. I've not heard anything about this. This is not a hint at anything. But I strongly believe that the Walt statue, the partner statue, is going to have some incredible utility, specifically connected to the Disney park. I mean, we could look at possibly free tickets to the park, season passes, unlimited admissions for each owner, and possibly even, I mean, I threw this one out there. It could be pretty wild, but I don't know if anyone knows what Club 33 is. Club 33 is a club in the park, and it's one of the most exclusive clubs in the world. It costs about $30,000 to join, and then $15,000 additional dollars per year. There's currently a 14-year waiting list to get on to get in this club. So what if they offered free membership to the partner if you own the partner statue? What if they offered free membership to this club? And
That would be phenomenal. And my proposal and interesting question would be to the team one day when we're talking about this is, if I paid you $1,000 to rent, or 1,000 gems to rent your collectible for a week, will I get that access? And and so you can do that with even much smaller scale utility. If your common Spider-Man gets you a 10% discount on Fandango to go see the new Spider-Man movie, can I rent that Spider-Man collectible from you and get that discount if it's worth it? Whatever kind of VIP access. Like, I'd be really interested to know as we progress if renting collectibles, if you're actually renting utility as well, because
awesome,
I do think utility is going to be a big factor in a lot of these collectibles in the future. So I don't know, it's just a fun thing to mess around with in the back of my head.
To add on to that, it makes total sense, because I mean, these collectibles are valuable within itself. I mean, we're the first appearances of Spider-Man or Mickey Mouse, but Also, these companies, specifically Disney, has the resources and IP to create real life utility to moonshot these collectibles overnight. They can do that tomorrow if they wanted, but they're not doing it right now because they had 20 more first appearances of princesses and and Marvel characters to come. But in my opinion, it's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, it's so
For a
fun to
lot of these
think about,
collectibles.
man. Like, going back to the first week of Disney drops, they showed us that they know what utility is when they were able to send a couple months membership to Disney Plus. So that's Disney saying, "Hey, look, we know what it is. This is just like a little taste. This is our experiment, which went really well." There's nothing stopping them from doing that in the future, and it's just really exciting to be thinking of. On the primary topic of this too, like Grails versus diversity, obviously, like some of these Grails, some of these like blue chips, these reputable brands that have been around for quite some time can offer better utility. But another argument towards diversity is you never know what kind of utility can be offered that could make something moonshot overnight. So it is nice to possibly be holding, a quantity of items just in case that happens. I mean, we see it all the time. Jake the dog went up 10 times in the last few months, people trying to bet on his animation. We've seen Labbits go up and down when Frank Kozik announces possible breeding, or when we see that there could be the first ones on Immutable X. We see Tristan Eaton's bunnies go up when we see Tristan Eaton sell a single piece of art for thousands and thousands. I think it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just never know, and it's nice to like have that just in case, But again, not everybody can have both, and that's why we're having this type of conversation. It's not liable for. We're blessed either or just to be here to begin with, but to have what we have. So we can't just assume everybody watching this right now and everybody in the future can just grab blue chips and can grab these random collectibles and have all this finances just to be able to pump into this. Because I mean, not everybody has that luxury.
Yeah, I think there's something very interesting that's going to be happening soon, and we saw it very early with the DeLorean drop. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but the DeLorean was drivable for the first 30 minutes or so when it was released.
I have a video of me doing it.
Yeah, and my opinion is that I think that once they actually release that feature, those become Grails, because that's such a cool feature. And I think so many people would literally like go to a party or go to like a family gathering and be like, look at me driving this DeLorean, look at me driving with this Jurassic Park and all this kind of stuff. And I think that conversation is so cool because when that gets released, I'm going to be playing with that almost all the time. I love RC cars and racing, this kind of stuff. So I think it's very interesting that some things right now that aren't necessarily considered Grails, once they have that utility added to them or the functionality or the ability to, like example, like to drive them, then they start creeping into the Grail conversation. And then people are like, wow, I should have bought this earlier. So that for me, I love drivable cars. And I think that's such a cool thing. I'm not really sure why they took it off, but it'll be so cool when it's back up.
Actually, speaking of that, I think that the DeLorean for me is the most, how do you say, undervalued item in the app, because it's not just about being drivable. It's also about that you can actually interact with the DeLorean. You can go inside of the DeLorean. You can turn around and see and take a picture like you are inside of the ultra rare. And for me, it's more about that people don't realize about those characteristics that real fans are going to go after. And maybe because it was the first drop that we have so many myths that people forgot about it and undervalued. Because I do believe that that can be like a blue chip. Because I was watching, what is the movie?
Back to the Future.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. And the car was the DeLorean. I was like, oh my God, when we actually can interact. And I was like, hold on. I can already interact, not even using the VR, that is the next step, right? But right now I can display my DeLorean, go inside, even just playing with it, making a video, and people don't realize about that. So I think it's more about educating a little bit of the community about the importance of the DeLorean in this case, and also the future utility of driving.
Yes. Somebody brought up the other day, like, how are we going to get around in the V-verse? Like, how are we going to know where to go? And it's like, it would totally make sense if vehicles is that option.
I have always thought the DeLorean was going to be crazy because of Ready Player One. And we've heard it from Dan and David. They've said, like, our goal is Ready Player One. And then they just happened to release the car of the main character in that movie. And, like, it just makes so much sense.
When they dropped it, there's how many editions of the Ultra Rare? Like 12,000, right?
Yeah.
I remember when they dropped it, we were like, "Well, that's a lot." There's a lot back then. Was it March or April? That's a lot. And look, thinking about it now, like, oh yeah, they were planning for the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's
Yeah.
complaining about drops now, I got in that drop an hour early. Waited an hour, or else you get bugged out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
My phone
Good
crashed.
times. Good
My phone
times.
crashed on the drop. I couldn't
Yeah.
like get the app back up until like 45 minutes later. I literally did not. I finally got a rebound, which I don't even think I knew. I don't know if there's a word for it in April. I was clicking and got one like 2 hours after the initial drop. I was freaked out. I was on stream and I was like so excited and so hyped that I got one. That was tough. That was brutal back then.
Yeah, for me it was like my first drop, and I just left my iPad open and I forgot about it, and that's how I got the low min. I had like 146, I think.
Wow.
Low mins in the ultra rare. That was my first drop.
Do you all think the glider will be accessible in the metaverse too?
The what?
The glider,
glider?
the James Bond,
Yeah.
the James Bond glider.
I think so. Like that's the only water/air vehicle that there is. Maybe there's like an underwater Aquaman world, and you can access it via the glider.
I think we'll be flying to Sean's comic vault in a glider.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta have
What do
like
you
a helipad at the top of your showroom
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
so we can like land up and stuff. Smart.
It was interesting with Sean when you shared your Club 33 thing with Walt and Mickey, potentially using it as a membership. I was thinking about this morning. Do you guys think it'll be like a kind of a bulk that you'll need in order to get in? Because I can't see them handing out 4,000 memberships, but I can see them handing out 40. So if you have like you're able to rent out the other 99 to like go for that one day or something like that, because you're looking at people like, I don't know, Dr. Profit, who holds like 100 of them. Like all it takes is a couple of him to like clean up the entire supply, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, I do, Mark. I'm in other NFT projects where what they do is they take the people who are holding the most of said collectible and allow them like that type of access. So one of the recent ones that I'm in, they're kind of a DAO, not really, but they vote on every decision. But the only way you get a vote is if you own like 10 or more of this NFT, because then you're like in that like, I guess like private tier club or whatever. But I do think it would be limited. But I do think, again, like that's thinking big, which could totally happen. But we could also think on like smaller scales as well. And I think the cool thing about thinking about utility and renting is I come from a business background. So like I'm typically skeptical of things that are just like given out, you know, and I understand why people are skeptical. Like, why would somebody, you know, why would Disney do that? Why would they give you those discounts or those memberships or whatever? Well, what people don't realize, 99% of people literally, you know, on earth don't realize is that the way blockchain is designed, that every single transaction, a certain percentage of that transaction goes back to the original company. So every single time we are renting out one, I'm assuming it's going to be factored into renting, but I guess it's not even assuming that every time one is sold, a percentage of that sale, and you know, you guys know this that are watching this, goes to Disney and goes to Marvel. So they are constantly making passive income on these NFTs. So they more than have the expendable finances to be able to grant us some of this utility because they're making so much money passively on it. It's not a one-time sell like the toy market. This is a constant stream of passive income from all this, not even counting their marketing that they're able to do in the Veverse. You know, through us, through the owners of the collectibles. So it totally makes sense for that they'll have the finances to be able to do this type of stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, I missed your question. Would you mind asking it again?
Oh, it wasn't a question. Just based off of the Club 33 that Sean brought up in his tweet, just saying like owning multiple of something in order to get like, let's say, that membership. I can't see them handing out like 4,333 memberships, but I could see them doing like 40 if you hold like 100 of them. And if you can't hold them, I guess like that's when renting comes in, and you're able to do that for a day or something.
Oh yeah, I think that's stuff like that's already kind of happening just within the Veve community by itself. I think there's a lot of small groups being formed with specific collectibles and stuff, but I think when Veve actually starts doing that on their own in terms of creating like specific, like if you own this, then you would be part of this exclusive club and you'll get these exclusive rewards. I think that's when you start seeing a lot of these specific collectibles being more like warranted and a lot of people wanting them. But I always give Veve the credit of being smarter than us because they know exactly what they're doing. Everything that they've put out, everything that they like. I know people get angry at them about timelines and stuff like this, but at the end of the day, these guys are very, very smart. Everything that they do is planned. Everything that they do has a purpose. And all the stuff that we're probably talking about is all the stuff that they've probably already talked about, and it's in the works. And I'm really glad that I found this company so early because it's very hard to find a company like this that you could put so much trust into. And like for me, I like going to sleep and knowing that my investment is safe, and going to sleep and knowing that like tomorrow I can wake up and I'll still be happy with where I put my money. And for me, it's a life changer. And me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I have a problem where nowadays I go in the real world and I'm like, oh, that's on Veve. Oh, I'm like, oh, they have this license. And I'm like, hi, my name is Gibby and I have a problem.
That's a great point. Sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think I feel very confident that, I mean, first of all, you're spot on. I mean, Veve, they focus on quality. You know, they want to make sure that things are, when they come out, they're ready to go and they're happy with the way it looks and the way things are run. So, but as far as the golden moments, I feel very confident. And again, this is purely speculation on my end, but I feel confident that there's going to be an airdrop for that collection. And I think that airdrop could potentially have a lot of utility as well. So that could be another option. Because you know, if you think about it, right, there's only 4,333 potential people that could own it, but we know one person owns up to 100 wallets, so that's 100 less right there. So yeah, it'll be interesting over time to see how that plays out. But yeah, definitely.
But also something that we have to mention is about how the community even can just set those that own the low mint secret rare of Spider-Man have access to a private club in New York, for example, that is going to send the price up. Because actually when the HT3 with the Spider-Man, the Thor, and the Superman, they were who bring the price up, and they were not actually pumping the price. They were just saying that they were going to create their own group. It came from the community, and communities in the Web 3.0 is the most important thing. It's not the company itself. So in my opinions, I do believe that the NFTs, same like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that they have to gather, they have the rights, and they know how to connect with the real life. In the NFT space, like our collectibles, the community is who going to decide what is going to be the next club, who is going to have the next utility. For example, I had in my stream an actor from Hawaii, and he said that people that has the Donnie, he said Donnie, but well, he said Donnie and another collectible, they will have access to a private tour in Hawaii, for example. And that's something that it came from an user, not from Veve. And for me, that is going to be the next step. Like for me, NFTs is also like, instead of having like luxury brands, like I'm going to have a Zara or a Louis Vuitton or whatever, I'm going to have my NFT that gives like a sense of luxury in my collection. So in that sense, I can belong to a club, for example. But I don't think that it has to depend on Veve only, but the community. And I will say more on the community.
So Sean, what NFT do I need to hold to come see your comic book collection in real life?
None. All are welcome.
That's awesome, man. Chat, if you have any questions, we'll, for the sake of everybody's time, we can wrap it up pretty soon, but we'll definitely take some more questions, or if any of you guys up here would like to say anything else. There was a good one I just saw by Mr. Anomalous. He said, what do you all think when owning a collectible, having the rights to wear or sell that IP like the Bored Apes? Wendy, you got it.
For me, I have a hard time thinking that Disney is going to let that happen. So I don't think that's possible, because it's way different license the Bored Ape than Disney or Marvel. So I have a hard time thinking that they will have that option. I don't know, guys.
I think they can make it so, like, for example, I live in Canada, so I haven't been to Disney World. I'd love to go one day, but I think that they'll make it so maybe one day, this is all speculation, but maybe like you can get like a discount on a ticket for owning a Walt, or get a discount on the ticket for owning an Elsa and stuff like that. So they might make it so you can not necessarily like take off from their brand and stuff, but it might just give you the ability to kind of interact with their products a little bit more and maybe get like early access to something and stuff like this. But in terms of using the brand on your own, I don't think that's ever going to be a possibility because there's way too many like hurdles to pass when that kind of stuff comes up. And Wendy made a great point about that too. But there's definitely ways that they can make it so like if you own the collectible, you can do this. If you own the collectible, you can get early access to this. So there's probably stuff like that that will be coming. But a lot of people are forgetting we're so early. Like we could have never had this conversation like even 6 months ago. We're still so early to all of this. It's so cool to just have the idea of what's coming and what could come, and it's such an exciting time to be alive. I'm 26, and by the time I turn 30, I think my whole life's gonna be completely different because of this. So
yeah, it's interesting because I think having the opportunity, especially like for the Bored Ape, to own that collectible and then being able to sell it and own that IP, it's a game changer. I don't think that's going to happen with on the Veve platform. It's just there's no way they're going to allow that with this kind of IP. But I was going to say the Bored Ape Yachts. I totally zoned out there. Next, somebody, Mark, you got this?
Nah, Sean, you got it. Keep going.
Save me, Mark.
Keep going, Sean. Keep going.
Same, Sean. I agree.
Yes, because for example, with the board and on Terra, they have the license. Some like the owners of some apes, they can sell, and they made like the Biflex with the Bored Ape, so you can actually have the Bored Ape. And they just did. I don't think that is going to happen. Like if you have the right of the Mickey, I don't think that you're going to be willing to do that in another platform. That doesn't make sense.
Because that would be the same IP as like you go to Walmart and you see like the branding for a Dragon Ball Z shirt or a Pokemon shirt, right? They have different licensing for that. This one specifically just for the actual collectible itself.
Yeah, I just remember. I finally remembered. So, like Kevin Smith, for example, is an awesome filmmaker. He made films like Clerks. He actually is making a film and he's selling it as an NFT, and he's going to allow whoever owns it to have full ownership of the IP, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
But I think, it's super cool. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities like that with a lot of more independent brands. But on the Veve platform, I think it's more going to come down to the individual, right, and their profile and their brand. That's how I think it's going to work on Veve.
I have a dumb question about that.
Okay.
Sean. So if I were to buy that, so in real life, I own a coffee shop. Okay. And if I were to play something on TV, I don't have rights to what I play on TV. I only, or on the show, only like 10 people are allowed to view it without it being considered copyrighted, and I could technically be sued. If I bought that NFT and I played it for a full audience, do I have the rights to it? Being with that full IP, or I don't know how that works.
When it comes down to like restaurants, and I'm not really I don't really know. Is it Mark?
I guess I'm more talking about rights or IP.
I think you'd be okay because you're not physically selling it or I guess reproducing it to make profit from it. I guess it could be argued that you're serving coffee and people are coming in specifically to view the NFT, but then I guess renting comes into play there too, as you're renting out that thing in the smart contract. So it's an interesting one. I think personally you'd be fine.
I believe the same. It's kind of like in YouTube when you are using like a song and you can monetize, but you can use the song. So maybe that can happen because you are not monetizing, because if you have this NFT, I will give you something, or you are going to sell something. You are just using the NFT. Kind of the same.
I guess it really comes down to the terms within the smart contract, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why they just crossed my head, thinking about it.
Yeah, I had a cool idea for Wendy, because Wendy's the one here who kind of has her own like clothing and stuff. Wendy, you can also make it so like in the future, I don't know how you would do this, but you can have, if someone owns like, for example, the DeLorean or the Walt 1901, you could put it on a shirt. Walt 1901 is the one that you own. And then I feel like that would be so cool for people to kind of showcase what they own and stuff like this in terms of clothing. Make it like a little patch and stuff, just for people to show off and be more proud of what they own. It'd be a cool idea.
Actually, speaking of that, we were planning to do like something like doing a cool design, because I don't like to take the the logos or anything, because I don't have, even if Veve is right, for me it's not okay. That's my point of view. But for example, with the ownership of the NFT, make like cool art and actually wearing into a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever. But that is something that we were actually thinking. So Gibby, you are visionary.
I'm gonna come to you for all my NFTs. I expect the whole clothing line, hoodies.
That would be great, actually, and even just making some differences with the NFT, making maybe I don't know, instead of the statue, like art related to the statue, because I want to be careful with the rights. But other NFTs doesn't matter. Like for example, the apes or something, it doesn't matter. But with the NFTs of Vivid, that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that the rest is wrong, but I try to be very careful with
Now,
them.
I do think on the smaller IPs on the VB platform, it would be possible, to have a sweatshirt, with the little friends or with the
like the Supergirl like number,
Yeah.
with my new number. Yeah, that might be great.
I don't know.
Do you guys ever think that it gets to a point where they'll have like a drop in the future? Like, let's stick with the Tristan Eaton, for example, where they make it like, for example, only 900 or 1,000 or so, and then if you get the drop, then you get the ability to potentially meet him one day, or like get an ability to maybe have like a voice chat with him and stuff like that. Do you think like that can eventually become reality?
I definitely think that's part of the potential utility in the future, because I think I definitely have heard David say that they're working on potential one-of-ones. And like I know in the NFT world, there was like the one where you could smoke weed with Mike Tyson if you bought his one-of-one NFT or something like that. It's like it sold for a ridiculous amount of money. So I definitely see that coming to VV.
I mean, that's where VFriends utility comes in. You get like 3 FaceTimes with Gary V for owning certain VFriends, which the floor is like, what, 10 ETH right now?
What I would say is not just collectible with Omi, maybe with a higher tier that you can have like a chat with Dan or Dave or Reese or whatever. So maybe that can be another utility.
It's
great ideas.
Yeah. It's because I made a video about this, and I think it was like people underestimate the amount of time, the time spent with people, because Warren Buffett, I talked about this, charges $4.5 million just to have lunch with him for 30 minutes. And the things you could take from that conversation could exponentially grow your business or help you in life in so many ways.
Actually, that's why Deacon was so important, the last Deacon, because we had the team there, and I know that it's going to grow more, like in the next Deacon. So it's going to be maybe a little bit harder to get in touch with them. So that's why Deacon was like a blessing. At least, Sean, I hope that he thinks the same.
Oh, sorry, Wendy, what was that?
That
What
we
about
saw,
Deacon?
that we saw Reese, and we had
Oh,
the opportunity.
It was
So
amazing. Yeah.
that is not going to happen next time because they're going to be way busy.
Oh yeah. That was probably the most calm we'll ever see that their booth. Yeah, by far. But Mark, to add your point about Warren Buffett real quick. Yeah, I mean, like I can only imagine what it's like having lunch with that guy. There's one quote that he said that really kind of changed my whole perspective in investing. If you're not making money while you're sleeping, you're going to work your entire life. Like that hit really hard to me.
Passive income, dude. Passive income.
And I think about that every day. Yeah, it changed my whole perspective.
Yeah, let's start the bidding at what? One Fantastic Four comic to have a live chat with Sean. Is that a good starting bid?
It's free. Just hit me up on Facebook.
That should be is that going to be my title for this video after I post it? If you're not making money while you're sleeping, you're going to be working your entire life.
Yeah, I think once VP implements that with the whole renting thing, then people will be doing that, right? Like if you're renting out your collectibles, you will be making passive income while you sleep. It's so cool. It's passive income is the way to escape the whole thing. And as a 26-year-old, the reason I joined this space is because I want to have this kind of passive income. I don't want to work for the rest of my life. I don't think anyone does. And I'm pretty sure all of us here, we're pretty young. We've all seen our parents struggle or community members struggle and stuff like that. It's not the way to kind of live. So with Veve, it's such a unique opportunity to kind of excel and become a better person and give yourself, like there was one of my friends on Twitter, his name is Crypto Dan. He said that the whole thing about Veve is creating like generational wealth and taking care of your family. And it's very unique because we're what, technically since the market's been open, we've been open for around like 6-7 months since the actual market on Veve's been open. We have an opportunity here to create that generational wealth, take care of our family, take care of our friends. And I think once more people start seeing that opportunity come into play, and then once the passive income starts being portrayed, it's going to be such a very fun time to be alive. And I, for one, am very excited, and I don't see this, like, I'm so happy that I found this. I'm so thankful for you guys as well.
And something that Veve
That's awesome.
understands well is generations, because they are not thinking, they are thinking the new generations. I have said this many times that yes, we are adopting the space, but those that are going to bring the Veve and NFT into the mainstream are the new generation, like younger than us, because they have grown with Fortnite, Roblox, so they do know what is having digital assets. And I do believe that Veve understand well, because for us it's so easy to go into the app trading. I was working just in my cell phone, and we are a generation of being basically 24 hours in our cell phone. And instead of going into a place where you have to take the bus, the subway, or whatever, you are working at home, making even more money.
I saw this TikTok the other day, and these guys are hanging out in the metaverse. I think it's really just like VR chat. And one of the guys is like, "How are we ever going to make money here? Like, that's so silly that people think you can make money from this." And the other guy's like, "Why don't you just ask the guy who's working here right now?" And they like look to their left, and there's a guy working for like a help service or something. And he's just chilling there, sitting. He's like, "Hey guys," he's like, "If y'all need anything, you can just ask me." and then he's like, "Wait. You're getting paid to be here?" He's like, "Yeah, this is my job." He said, I used to work customer service over the phone, and now I work here." It was so funny though, because it's like, we think about this, and it is the future, like the metaverse is the future, like forward thinking, but it is already kind of happening now. And it's such a beautiful thing to think about. And to Gibby's point about like generational wealth and like why we're doing this, everybody has different reasons why they're doing this. Some people are like, investing in the app because because they like collecting, and that's awesome. I'm personally, I'm doing it for the collector side of me, and I'm doing it to change my life and change my children's life. Like, I've had people try to convince me to sell my Todd at like $300, $400, because I bought it for 70. And I'm like, I'm not here to make a couple $100s. I'm here to change my life, and like that's my mindset going into Veve and really the entire crypto and NFT space. And like, I'm going to stick with that. And it has changed my life already. Like not just financially, but like meeting people like you guys. Twitter like is like the main social media that I'm on. And it's so nice going from such a political side, like how Facebook was for me for a while, controversial, always hearing negative things, like always being surrounded by negativity or these weird echo chambers that reaffirm each other, to like the refreshing, hey, are we going to buy Fantastic Four or Spider-Man today? Like these fun conversations on the Twitter spaces and these YouTube, being able to like go to my inner childhood and be like, yo, Mark's got a Pokemon card collection behind him. And like, I love Pokemon. Let's talk about Pokemon today instead of all these really stressful things about life. I don't know. It's been so refreshing these last few months to be in this space.
One of the best communities I've ever been a part of. Easily, hands down.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, you do have those bad players and the people who kind of make you cringe a little bit, but 99% of the people here in Veve are so awesome. And if you join the right spaces, you talk to the right people. I also on Twitter, specifically for you, Chris, I know that Twitter spaces are very useful for finding out a lot of information. Whenever Sean kind of posts a tweet, because I'm still trying to learn about comics, I try to pick his brain as often as possible so I can get as educated as possible about this kind of stuff. Wendy's like the king of queen of Facebook. And Mark himself is so intertwined with the community. It's so cool to just have so many people involved. And I've met some incredible people in this space. And prior to this, I probably never spoke up, but Veve makes people's lives a lot better. And it's a very uplifting community. And it's just very fun to be a part of. So thank you all for all that. So
I agree.
Absolutely, man.
Brian, I disagree with you. You have to just be in our Facebook group that is a little bit intense, but it's not shit.
Brian, it's awesome, Brian. There's a lot of wonderful people on there. I've met a lot of amazing people on there as well.
That's how I met Sean, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And yeah.
This way.
This way. There it is.
Can you see me guys pointing?
I'm not good with the Brady Bunch.
I see you, Gibby. I see you in the viewers.
Dan Schabel said it best. Big shout out to Dan. Come for the collectibles, stay for the community. And I thought that was so well said. It so perfectly embodies this community in the space. So Yeah, but Facebook's awesome, man. Yeah, get on there, Brian.
Yeah, please. More respect for our group, please.
I legit got on Twitter because of Veve only, and I love Twitter now. I didn't know how to use Twitter until August, and now I'm
Me
like,
too.
yeah, and now I love it.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Same boat. Twitter specifically for Veve. That's it. Like all my whole feed is all NFTs, NFT Twitter.
Yeah, it's NFTs completely. Actually, before it was like Facebook, I was sorry, my Facebook people, but before it was just Facebook. But now I wake up, I see Twitter, I see Facebook, I see Instagram, and then go to. But all of them is NFTs.
My friends call me Butters now. I don't know if you also told me the South Park episode. Yeah.
Oh no, you're what's
Butter?
from the new episode from the new movies?
Yeah, Butters.
What's his name? His name is slipping my mind. Victor Chaos.
Victor Chouse.
Victor Chouse. Let me teach you about NFTs.
Yeah, you heard about NFTs.
It's so refreshing though, just to have that. I wasn't like specifically trashing Facebook, but like going from like how social media has been the last few years to being in this space, at least for me personally, it's a pretty healthy getaway, if that makes sense.
I think this was always the true like intention behind social media, is to build community, right? To build friends. Like I've never met any of you guys in real life, but I feel like I know you guys because we talk every single day. So it's kind of crazy.
I love it, man. You guys are awesome. Like I love the positivity and the vibes and getting to know you guys, and some of you I'm just now meeting more recently, but I'm really thankful for it and thankful for this chat. A lot of people coming in to hang out today. I really appreciate you guys for joining. Yeah, this has been great. Is there any final thoughts that you guys would like to add to either the topic today or just this recent conversation? Or
I guess with our conversation earlier about passive income and like generational wealth, I don't know if this is going to be I don't know who that is. But
we gotta make it so we just show his face. That's it.
I don't know if Wendy, you also do Terra Virtual, right? Like as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that on Terra Virtual that the marketplace is completely bare. Like you can't buy anything from the marketplace. Is that true?
No. Before, when they were minting into Polygon, it was like that, but right now it's just normal.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like to kind of draw a little bit of comparison, I think like one of these days we won't see anything in the marketplace. So to even have the opportunity to talk about diversity versus Grails, one day there's going to be nothing in the marketplace and everyone's just going to be renting their NFTs, and then that creates that generational wealth. So it just kind of shows how early we are, and I think we just got to appreciate these moments here.
Yeah. And actually, I'm sorry. Speaking of that, I have to mention something that Riz said at Deacon. He said, do you remember like the colors, like in the different variants in the marketplace? They did it because they know that one day we will have, let's say, the secret rare. So you can see like the colors of those that are available. So they are thinking in the future when we actually don't have all of them in the marketplace, like you just said. Oh, Omi the Clown. Yeah. Much love for Omi the Clown. This guy is amazing.
Yeah, he's helped the community out a lot. If you're not familiar, Ecomi Wiki is designed by Omi the Clown. He's been on Wendy's channel, shared some of his background on there. I was live for that interview. I was in the comment section. It was awesome. Very talented person. And yeah, I mean, you're able to like look at the charts. He actually has access to the API of collectibles and comics. So you can see like the sale, like the most recent sales. You can see the charts from however far back till now. It's really cool. For me, I'm a chart guy. I'm a volume guy. So it really helps me out a lot.
And his app, Veve Vault, is that right?
Vault Value.
Vault Value.
It's him and another person, I think.
The app is amazing. His app is absolutely incredible. I use it every day, actually. It's really cool.
Here.
Helps estimate your value of your collection. Yeah.
You just lock it in and it stays and it keeps updating. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. It's incredible.
And also, Omi the Clown is going to open like communities so people can actually post articles, and I'm going to moderate them. I don't know how I'm going to live, but I'm going to moderate the articles. So everyone can just write about, I don't know, knowledge and education content and create communities. Yes, he is amazing.
That's so sweet.
Amazing. One thing I do want to say before we leave is just a piece of advice for everybody. Just make sure you research your investments. Don't just buy into things blindly. Research your investments, know what you're buying into. great piece of advice I learned recently from Chad of NFT Pirates. Big shout out to Chad. He said, he personally always assesses each collectible as a what would this be worth as a one of one, right? So like the Wonder Woman NFT, what would be worth as a one of one? And you want to compare those to other collectibles, specifically comic books too. So what would this comic? And if you don't know the answer, do the research. There's websites like Go Collect, Key Collectors Comics. There's a lot of websites that can give you these tools and resources. So put the time in, do your research, because if you're collecting, that's fine. But if you're investing, you put a lot of money into it, do yourself a favor and put the time in for this research, because it's going to pay off in the end.
It's so funny that you're saying that, because yesterday I had one of my friends ask me about the upcoming comic drop today, and I'm like, I don't know. Let me check Comic and Crypto's podcast first. let me check what his evaluation of it first is.
and I appreciate that, man. And I'm happy that I'm helping people out, but at the same time, like I just want to I'm giving you some information, but you got to put more into it. Put more into your research so you can come up with your own idea, your own strategy. And our strategy does not work for everybody, and that's fine. There's a lot of other people online that have their own ideas too, and just find out what's best for you. But most importantly, just find your own voice when you are investing. That's the most important thing.
For you specifically, Sean, though, I think there's one very important thing that you do, and I know a lot of people on Veve right now, they're always asking the same question: when are the real comic book collectors coming in? When are the real comic book collectors coming in? But what you are doing, what Dozer is doing, what Sleepy Comics is doing, you guys are creating a new generation of comic book lovers. You guys are doing something monumental, and it's like it's not talked about enough that you guys are creating. Like, I was never a comic book collector. I never knew anything about comics, but you guys are creating a new generational gap between people who are just getting into comics because of the information that you guys provide. You guys help move the community forward and create this new generation of comic book lovers. So for me, thank you so much for that kind of information.
I appreciate that.
You do.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I to second that, I completely agree. Like, I so appreciate you comic guys. Like, not only has it given me much more education on comics, it's also given me more interest in comics. Like, I've never been a physical comic collector, but I'm definitely considering it now more than I ever had. And I obviously own a ton of Veve comics now, but my appreciation for comics has just grown exponentially over between Veve and between you guys providing like the educational videos on this is what makes a comic valuable. This is the scarcity and the physicals and just like all the information on them. And also like just the amount of, I guess it's obvious, but I forget like how much detail comics have opposed to like the movies. Like there's so many, like there's so much more information in comics that you just don't get in the movies. Like, I'm not gonna lie, even this Fantastic Four comic that dropped today, like the Hulk and the Thing, I never knew they like met, like from the movies or anything like that. And that probably sounds silly to people watching this, but I didn't. So now I'm actually interested to like go read about that encounter. So it's really cool to think about. Also, sorry, this is kind of long, but to add to that last thing about like do your own research and do your own investments. Like, I strongly encourage you not to like blindly follow like anybody, because people are in different situations than you. We talk about this a lot in some of the groups that I'm in, but like for some people, it doesn't bother them to tie up, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 gems. So they'll buy something for that much and they have no intention to sell it for a year or 2 years. For you, if you watch them make that purchase and you're like, oh, that's going to go up really quick, maybe I need to go buy that as well. Well, now you have, and if that's all the gems you had, now you can't make any more moves. You can't collect anything you like and you can't do any flips because all your gems are tied up in that one asset. Sure, that asset might be good and it might go up over time, but that's another reason why it's important to make your own moves, because people are at different stages of life. They have different finances, and it's just not always wise to follow somebody else's steps, like step by step, because of those reasons.
For me, it's getting a lot tougher to keep gems in my like wallet, because comics are just so accessible. So like every time I go on Veve, I'm like, okay, I got like 500 gems today. What? How do I only have 200 now? Because I bought all these comics. So it's getting very tough once you actually realize the value in comics. Sean, I do have one question for you that I think would be pretty cool. Do you think we're in season 1 of comics? Because we did like with NFTs, with all the collectibles and stuff, we had season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. Do you think comics are still in like season 1? Like, how would you look at that?
That's tough to say. I don't know if they're actually. Are they? Do you think they'll? I don't think they're going to probably categorize this by seasons.
No, I wouldn't say by seasons, but I'm saying in terms of like, because you know how season 1 collectibles are now viewed as more. Like, do you think we're slowly jumping into like the second season of the comic book drops? Like, I know they don't clarify which specific season, but do you think it can it can fit into that category?
I don't necessarily know if it'll be categorized in that way. It very well it might be. But I just look at more like over the course of like 500 comic books dropping on Veve, which ones are going to stand the test of time. That's really how I look at it. Especially like this is a really cool epiphany I had recently with Marvel Comics 1. When they first dropped that, I mean, I was fully expecting Fantastic Four #1 to be the first comic to drop as an NFT by Marvel, because that's the first comic to start it all for Marvel. I mean, that's the first comic under the Marvel name, because before that was Timely Comics, which was the entity for Marvel Comics 1. That was under Timely Comics in 1939. So when they dropped that, I thought that was very, very interesting, because it has a lot of historical value, but it doesn't have any pop culture value. But what I come to realize recently, that Veve has now made that a book that is cemented in pop culture history, because it's the first ever NFT dropped by Marvel. And for that reason, I mean, I can guarantee you maybe 1% of people that have come to this platform or come onto Veve knew about Marvel Comics 1. And that's probably being generous. But I can almost guarantee you now the 99% of active users on Veve know Marvel Comics 1, but not just know it, but understand that it's an incredibly valuable comic, that it's really scarce, and it's a grail. So yeah, I mean, it's those are the kind of comics that I assess, and I know will have the long-term value. And yeah, that's
for me, Marvel, Sean, for me, Marvel #1 is like the Bitcoin of the comics. If I have to put my investment in one, I will go with that one.
It's the safest, by far the safest bet. I mean, for the physical editions, there's only 63 physical comics on the CGC census. So it's easy to presume there's less than 100 copies in existence. So between that and the secret rare, there's only 700 copies in existence. I mean, if that was a drop alone on Veve, that's insanely scarce, right? So that's wild. That's wild. And it shows the upside potential of where it can go. And also what's really crazy is that a lot of those physical comics, you see one sale maybe every couple of years. Like the most recent sale was in September. It was a purple label, which means it has restoration, which decreases the value. As a 2.0 grade, it sold for $150,000. Right. And actually, what's really exciting, this is actually really exciting. I just realized this. I was talking to Dan about this the other day and sleeping. There is a 4.5 graded Marvel Comics 1 being dropped on Heritage Auction for sale. And I'm really excited to see where that's going to go. Really excited. Because
when is that?
In January.
In January. Yeah, Mark.
I'm going to be watching that like a hawk. Like
yeah. Oh, yeah. Days. Nice, Mark. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Is that crazy? That's crazy.
Yeah.
4.5 blue label, which means the book is entirely intact. There's no restoration on it. Wild stuff. So we'll see where that goes. Definitely keep an eye on it. Could change a lot for the platform too.
That's nuts, man. It's crazy. That's so exciting. I want to, after I get off the stream, go buy a couple of Marvel Comic 1s now.
Not financial advice, right?
So I'm going to say one more thing and then I'll conclude. I'm sorry to keep on taking your time, but I saw the trend on Twitter, like name your worst like Veve mistakes ever. And I honestly haven't had any.
Please no. Please, let's not talk about it.
I haven't had any major like intentional mistakes, but my biggest actual mistake was the day after Marvel Comic 1 dropped. I was scooping up the uncommons like crazy, man. And my plan was I wanted to flip for higher rarity. So I wanted to flip into a rare, and then I wanted to flip into an ultra rare and flip into a secret rare. Well, I bought a bunch. I didn't really realize it. And I had them all listed. I think I got them for like 40 a piece, and I had them all listed for like 60 a piece because, again, I just wanted those 20 gem profits to be able to flip to a rare. I ended the day and I don't remember what happened, but I didn't realize I never delisted them. So it was a week later. I was like, you sold this, you sold this, you sold this. I'm like, what's going on? I looked and I had all those comics still listed, which like I obviously didn't want to still have listed. I just did it specifically while I was flipping. So I lost so many uncommon Marvel #1s, uncommon ones, because I didn't know that it was listed. And to my defense, there wasn't, I don't think there still is, like an easy way to see your comic listings like there is your collectible listings. It would have been nice just to hit like comics and have, all the listings that I had. Didn't have that at the time. It's still on me though. But yeah, that was probably one of my worst mistakes I've made in Veve.
I have like PTSD. I'll share my story. I'm not too ashamed, but I had a 456 secret rare Spider-Man. just take that in for a second. 4, 5, 6 secret rare Spider-Man. So for me, whenever I'm on the Veve app and I'm just scrolling the market and I see a secret rare Spider-Man come up, I close my phone and just go away.
Dang, that's tough, man. That's so tough. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, guys. I seriously appreciate you all being here. For everybody in chat, I'm sure you know these faces, but go follow Gibby on Twitter. Go subscribe to Mark and Wendy and Sean on YouTube, and also follow them on Twitter. They all make amazing content, constant community updates, different updates that you heard here. You heard their knowledge, their on the spot knowledge to think about everything when they're able to like compile it and put it all into a video or into a tweet. Like, they're extreme assets to the community. They've been here for a long time. I seriously appreciate you guys being here. So thanks everybody for joining in, and I guess that's it.
Thanks, Chris, for having us, buddy.
Thanks you
So
too,
much
Bus.
fun. Thanks,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome.
Everybody.
See you guys next time.
See you.